welcome to the High-End Munich 2024. Next to me is Costa. I think this is the sixth time or something we have a talk about new products.
Probably.
Yeah, probably like that. But I have to admit, last year we did the North series, and this year the new 800 series, North series is out. I love the design. Every time I see it, it's gorgeous. But who made these design choices?
Well, the entire the aesthetic casework, the industrial design, is an in-house effort. It's all done as a combined effort of our design team, and even our marketing team and sales team get involved, of course, in order to come up with an appearance that will satisfy the widest audience possible, of course, and at the same time be a luxurious look.
Because it looks really stylish, and details like this, like the remote, it's my kind of stuff. I like it. But of course it's about the insides, just like with people. You can have a very nice outside, but in the end it goes about the performance. This year's new 800 series.
Correct. This year we launched the 800 level product in North Collection, which is the flagship models, and it is made up of one network player preamplifier and one stereo power amplifier.
Yeah, and network player preamp, deliberate choice?
Yes, what we have done in our research and development, we have both discovered, we can say, and also in response to what appears to be a trend that will become more and more prevalent as time goes on, that people want less in the way of separate boxes, but without any of the compromise.
But that's hard.
It is hard indeed, and the 891 in particular, which is the flagship model of the North Collection, is the epitome of that type or that genre of product and the performance that is possible.
So how did you realize that? Because if you have to pack a lot of stuff inside one box, you get all sorts of problems, and you have to solve them. What was the hardest problem you needed to solve?
I wouldn't say if it's any one aspect that is largely responsible for the sonic performance of the 891. It's just a general combination of factors and some innovative new ideas that went into particularly the flagship model that don't exist in other products, that pushes the sonic envelope even further.
Can you give an example?
Well, I can give several examples, in fact. The DAC technology in the 891 is what we call MDE3, Moon DAC Engine 3. And it is a combination of intelligent design due to FPGA reclocking.
Oh, okay.
The DAC choices that we've made, the architecture of the DACs. In other words, the DACs are broken down as it's a dual mono type design with two separate DAC wafers, one for each channel, utilized in a purely monophonic mode. So you have 8 monophonic DACs per channel for a stereo DAC. Yeah. And that has many sonic benefits in terms of the implementation and the way we've done it. Yeah. That helps reduce distortion and give you a more accurate analog signal.
Yeah, it feels like stacking of DACs, but then in one chip.
Yes, sort of. Exactly. Clocking, which is also known as jitter or timing errors, which is a phenomenon that the more jitter you have, which is unwanted, of course, it gives you smearing a little bit of the sound stage. We've reduced timing errors down to the femtosecond range, which is extraordinarily low. Now, to be fair, we've had this ability even with our previous generation DAC, but we've maintained and improved on it a little bit, of course, in the 891. So, these design features are part of the DAC section itself. Now, when we look at the analog section of the 891 it uses the feature that we call MDB, which stands for Moon Damping Base. And essentially, all of the analog circuitry, which includes the high-performance phono stage that's built into the 891, it is all constructed onto a heavy aluminum plate, and that the board is pressed onto the plate, onto a large thermal pad, in such a way that the pressure is even. It's controlled by springs, which are adjusted at the factory.
Oh, nice.
Something the consumer should be playing around with.
Don't play with springs in your amp.
That's right. Okay, and the entire mechanism. This helps reduce microphonics for one. Microphonics are unwanted vibrations that are caused by the microscopic vibration of components, which adds harmonics that are not present in the original signal. So by reducing microphonics, you get a more accurate sound. So we reduce microphonics in the 891 thanks to MDB, and the entire suspension system, which also includes the rear panel. The 891 has a double rear panel, an inset one with all of the analog inputs and outputs. That's part of the MDB. I called it a suspension before, but perhaps the more correct word would be an isolation system.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And the entire isolation system has lockdown screws because it does move, of course, and we don't want it to move during shipping. Yeah. So a key thing for anyone who invests in an 891 has to remember is that these 3 locking screws need to be removed. Yeah. That's right, to allow the MDB to do its job and improve sound quality even further. Other design highlights of the 891 include the fact that it is a fully balanced circuit, digital and analog, which obviously we all know balanced circuitry isn't new, but to do it right is expensive, and we've been doing it all along for so many years this way, and the 891 continues in that tradition. The power supply in the 891 is our tried and proven, what we call MHP, Moon Hybrid Power.
Oh, it's a hybrid power supply. Switch mode plus linear.
That's right.
Speed for the digital part?
Not quite. It's not configured in that sense. The input section is the switching section, which gives you a very wide acceptance factor in terms of the voltage that it'll accept. And the linear part is more for all of the filtration and lower noise and all of that. So you combine the best of both worlds with no compromise. And we developed MHP several years ago, and we launched it in our previous generation flagship DAC. It was called the 780D.
Oh, that's why I didn't know it.
That was the first product to use at MHP. And when we did the R&D and when we did the listening tests, listening to a 780D with an MHP versus a prototype identical 780D but with a high-performance linear-only power supply, the MHP outperformed it. And that's when we realized, okay, all this R&D is paying off. We've now achieved a level of performance in this new power supply design that justifies its costs and justifies putting it in a product of this caliber. So we've been using MHP in a number of products ever since. Yeah. And the last thing I want to say about MHP, particularly for any consumer that is very conscious regarding minimizing your carbon footprint, on our precious planet and all that. MHP is very efficient, so the power consumption is lower than a comparable linear-only power supply.
That's pretty impressive.
That as well. There's also high-performance phono stage built into the 891. Going back to the analog section, the volume control system, which is something that we talk a lot about in all of our products, because we always stress that the quality of the volume control, and by when I say the quality, I mean the circuit that operates the volume control, is a critical part of the product as far as impacting sound quality. And for those that know us well, we don't use mechanical potentiometers because those have they're simple and they're fine and they're reliable, but they do have many disadvantages, particularly at the high-end performance level. We've been developing and improving our own electronic volume control system now for over two decades. And what's used in the 891 is the latest generation that we call MRAY 2, whereby it's an all-analog volume control. There's no digitization at all done in the signal. But the key features are that the volume control operates a discrete array of resistors that are switched in and out of the signal path, various combinations of resistors.
It just tells you where to switch. Yes. It switches and then it's out of the way.
Correct. It seems very simple, and conceptually it is, but when you actually execute it and you want to make it noise-free and reliable and precise, there's a lot of challenges involved. So it took us 25 plus years to get where we are with this volume control system, and we call it MRAY 2. And it gives you, depending on the degree of the volume steps that you set it at, the user has the choice of 0.5 dB increments or 0.1 dB increments.
That's really precise.
Yes. 0.1 dB increments are hardly audible, if at all, but sometimes you want that extra precision. It all depends on the situation and the listener's personal preferences and all of that. But with 0.1 dB increments, you have 620 independent, discrete volume steps to choose from. So the volume control has a tremendous amount of range and precision in terms of adjusting it exactly where you want. And it's the only product that we have that has such an elaborate volume control system. So that contributes to the sound as well, because this type of volume control system adjusts volume in the natural area of the signal path. In other words, unlike a traditional mechanical volume potentiometer, you have to bring the signal from the input all the way to the front panel to pass it through that volume control and then take it back again where it came from, so it follows its natural path through the rest of the circuitry. With MRAY 2 and with all of our electronic systems, you don't need to bring the signal to the front because it never actually goes through the electronic control. The volume circuitry is located where the audio signal would naturally go through, so your signal path is shorter overall, and you get enhanced clarity and purity just by having a shorter signal path. So that's an extra benefit of this type of volume control system, and it's something that we talk a lot about because I can't stress enough how important this is in any analog products design. If you have a volume control, a high quality volume control definitely improves sound quality.
I thank you very much, because I have the feeling you need to demo your gear, and I really want to hear the 800 series. But I realized we didn't get to the power amp, but I'm getting samples from your Dutch distributor anyway.
Great.
So let's stay in touch.
Absolutely.
We now know how the preamp streamer works. It's good to know that there's paid a lot of attention to key elements in the signal path and all the technology around it. And we will stay in touch about the power amp, because I have no doubt there's a lot to tell about it.
Absolutely. There's a tremendous amount to say about that. The amplifiers employ an entirely new circuit. We don't have time to get into it.
No.
It's something we are very proud of, and I'm sure you'll experience it when you receive your sample.
I'm really looking forward to this one. It's cool. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yes.
You too.